My dad grew up during the Depression, and his favorite dessert was a raisin pie. We're not going to make a raisin pie today. We're going to make a raisin sheet cake from the Great Depression era. People grew their own grapes and dried them and had their own raisins, so there was a decent supply of them back then. So you'll see quite a few recipes back then with raisins in them. I have 1 cup of raisins and a cup of water that I boiled them to plump them. And to that, I'm going to add a stick of margarine. You can use butter if you like, and a cup of sugar to the hot raisins. And I love recipes where I can use up some of my spices. So to this, we are going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, a teaspoon of soda, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to add 2 eggs and 2 cups of flour. And that's all that goes in this recipe. I've mixed all the ingredients together, waited for the butter to soften in the raisins, and added all of my spices. And now I'm just making it into a batter, and then we're going to add it into a cookie sheet pan that is sprayed and cook it at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. This makes a very easy spreadable batter. And then I'm just going to use the same pan that I had my raisins in, and I'm going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter. When that's melted, I am going to add 1/3 cup of brown sugar. We're making the frosting now, a brown sugar frosting. Then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of 1/2 and 1/2, or you can use milk. And when that gets to boiling, we are going to add a 1.5 cups of powdered sugar and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla to make the frosting. Our frosting is done, and then we will spread it on our cake once it's cooled, and I tested the frosting. It is delicious. Very pleased with how this turned out. Now we just need to let it cool and frost. So here is the completed raisin sheet cake from the Depression era. And as always, I use gluten-free flour, so feel free to substitute that if you're gluten-free. I hope you enjoy.